I told you last time about Frank and I coming back together as a result of crisis situations in Vietnam, and me connecting back to him in support of someone I knew, had great character and a good heart. And it brought us back together after 4 years, and we've now been married 55. So, it's a great story. One of the things I mentioned in that is us keeping a gratitude journal. So the men who served in Vietnam, not only did they have to come back from that war, a very unpopular war with the American people, and, I've heard them in group reunions and stuff, with Ranger reunions, talking about how when they came back, people, looked at them with disdain. Some even spit at them. They weren't grateful for their service there in Vietnam. They thought they were just light under the hat, so to speak, for even accepting going there and fighting that war, mostly because of the political environment at the time. But Americans didn't understand the war. They didn't support the war. And these men came back to a great lack of recognition and gratitude for what they'd gone through. And they went through some really, really difficult times there. One of the things was Agent Orange, was a chemical that was sprayed on the foliage of the jungle. And, Frank said the leaves would just drop off the trees. And, it was a very dangerous chemical element that was being sprayed there in the war zone in Vietnam. And Frank was one of those soldiers who, was infantry, and he was out there and in the trenches, and he was exposed to that. So here he is with this training, and mission focused, and, Rangers, they say things like, we don't get PTSD, we give it, and we give it to others. It's a mindset, it is a purposeful training, and it's a way they see themselves, I guess, as a means of survival. So that was Frank's heart and Frank's attitude. But just a few years ago, he came up against a battle that he had not been trained for. He was not well trained for it. He was not prepared for it. And the diagnosis was, Frank, you have cancer. There's been a lot of different kinds of illnesses that are traced and connected back to service in Vietnam. So he had cancer, and the bottom line was, you're going to have surgery. Well, that was hard for him to take, but lots of people have to go through it, and he did. And then about a year later, he was diagnosed with another form of cancer, again, a threatening form of cancer. And it was at that point that he kind of came face to face with his own mortality. I think he had been so highly programmed in the military that they somehow believe they're invincible and they may not ever die. It's the way they can go forward and do the things that they have to do, that they're called upon to do for their country. But in this instant, the second time, in a row, 2 years in a row, with major cancer surgery, he did a real nosedive. And where a guy who's always been very even-keeled and positive and funny, he's funny to have around, had a great sense of humor, he really went into a deep depression, which was so unlike him. He had not been trained for that kind of battle, and he didn't know how to handle it. He finally admitted that he needed some help. And that's another thing very difficult for active duty, career military members in particular, to even admit and face and take action on, because there's a stigma attached when you admit that you're having depression or PTSD or, any sort of mental illness related to the war zone and some of the not adventures, but experiences that they have had in these very difficult circumstances. So he finally said, I need help. Well, it was just about that time I'd been doing some research on the value of gratitude and how if we express gratitude on a regular basis, if we're consistent about it, big things, little things, it doesn't matter, but we express gratitude on a daily basis, within 2 weeks of consistent gratitude behavior, your joy meter will increase, go higher by at least 25%. So I decided I would run that idea by Frank when he was in the bottomless pit and felt like he couldn't get out. And, there was a time as a ranger, he would have not been open to such what he would maybe consider a corny, girly idea to sit down and express gratitude every day. But he was at such a deep, dark point at that time that he listened to me. And we got us a gratitude journal, and we made it a daily habit to begin our day, to sit down with coffee and write down 5 things that we're grateful for and then discuss those. And that was maybe 5 years ago. He now, if we're going on a trip, he packs the gratitude journal. I mean, he admits and he looks forward to that time of open gratitude. And his joy meter did return. He did go get help through the VA doctors and assistants, but he also joined me in expressing gratitude every day, writing it down, and then reviewing it and talking about it. It has helped us to get even closer as a couple. It has helped us as a family. I highly recommend it to make it a habit. It's one of those habits that you don't realize that even small things like, I can get up today, I can walk, I can see, I can hear, I can speak, I can connect with you. All of those things are little miracles and blessings that we kind of take for granted if we don't stop and with intent, speak gratitude into our day, into our lives, to others, and for ourselves. So get you a gratitude journal. I recommend it. Frank has greatly benefited from it. He kind of dropped that, I am a ranger veneer, and it really made a difference. So gratitude journal, recommended. I will see you for Fireside Chat 7 very soon. Cheers.